Taking a look at Hollywood movie director James Cameron and Bob Ballard, the man that supposedly discovered the Titanic at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean back in 1985, side by side during this ABC News interview regarding the OceanGate Titan submarine. Let's take a listen here, and as always with these news stories, they're Masonically coded. Let's take a listen.
Person closely familiar with the Titanic is director James Cameron, along with his Oscar-winning movie, of course. He's actually made 33 dives to the wreckage site itself. James and Robert, thank you both so much for...
So 33 dives to see the Titanic. Not 32, not 34. It has to be 33 times he visited the Titanic. I mentioned this before. I showed this before with James Cameron in the Orange Ladder. All to do with Freemasonry. Like I demonstrated before, take a look here at the ascension with the ladder. And James Cameron himself, with Cameron being a 33 name. So again, all these news stories with the Masonic fingerprints. And more of the same here with James Cameron with this Viking type helmet with the horns and the obvious black and white symbolism when it comes to Freemasonry, once again with the checkerboard. Also, take a look here at this U.S. Coast Guard representative, Frederick, doing the Masonic hand sign. And all these high-level people in society, they're all Masons without a shadow of a doubt. And that gets into this individual here. His name is Jake. He has his own channel on YouTube. Nearly 14 million subscribers. Take a listen to what he says here. This is just 3 weeks prior, in his own words, with the trial run with the Titan, supposedly making his journey to the Titanic. Let's take a listen to what he has to say here in his own words.
The whole world watching the rescue efforts of the missing submarine around the Titanic, I thought I'd share my experience of Mission 3 just a few weeks ago, and if my dive wasn't canceled, it could have been me inside that submarine today. The Titanic, super pretty. The artist did an amazing job, but I'm excited to toss it in the water. You ready to go?
So this ceremony with the reef being tossed in the ocean, part of the production, getting ready for what took place, obviously, just a few days ago. Pre-production, no doubt about it. Let's take a look here at more of this.
You see that camera, bud? I'm gonna pass it over.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, will someone grab that?
Should be good.
Thank you, bud.
Hold it.
Oh, shit,
hold.
sorry about
wait, it'll come for you. Yep, there you go.
Hey!
Yay!
As he makes his way towards the Titan, as you see here, take a listen to the words he says here as the Titan submerges.
So we're officially underwater in a submarine right now. 33 feet, I believe, right?
33 feet. As always, again, coded. And like I said earlier, this was just 3 weeks prior to the supposed Titan visiting the Titanic during that tour with the 5 individuals. And let's take another listen when he mentions the 33 feet once again. And someone in the background, they want to really emphasize that 33 by repeating the number 33 for your dual 33s. Take a listen.
33 feet, I believe, right? 10 meters. Yeah.
33 feet.
So again, they really have to emphasize the 33. Not only that, the dual 33. Just like you see here with this Grand Sovereign Commander Luther Smith and the dual 33s, which I shown many times in the past, and the dual-headed eagle or phoenix in plain sight. Now, one thing that's really flown under the radar is this one talk TV show based in the BBC. And to me, this is play mockery, where you have this individual call in this talk show, and his name is Colin, calling into this call-in talk show. Let's take a listen here and look at the woman's hand sign. 100%. You're not going to make it big. You're not going to make it on TV unless you're part of the club. Let's get right to it.
Colin is in Bergen in Norway. And Colin, you actually work as a remote vehicle operator for subs yourself, don't you?
That's correct, Julia. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much. Do you know what? When I said, look, call in if you happen to know when you're an expert in this field, I kind of said it tongue in cheek.
And obviously, like I said, she's referring to call in who called in. Give me a break.
absolutely incredible for you to get in touch. What do you make of the chances of A, finding this sub, and B, getting these men out alive?
Okay, well, there's some big holes in this story because a little bit of background. If you work, I know I work in the oil and gas industry, and we send ROVs down from boats all the time, down to about 3,000 meters too. We always have at least one or two transponders on them, which is basically a little signaling device which pings the signal back to the surface for the boat to pick up so they can identify where you are and your water depth.
Yeah.
And these things, they're actually, you can hire them or buy them. And they're straight off the shelf. There's companies all over the world rent or sell these things. So, and they're very accessible. They're not that expensive. So from the life of me, I cannot understand how this sub has gone down there without a few of those attached.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, exactly. That's because look, we spoke to experts, former Navy commanders who say, look, they wouldn't dream of getting into this sort of this tin can, effectively operated by a PlayStation module.
They're talking about the Titan being nothing more than a tin can and being controlled by the PlayStation controller. But the big thing is they're adding this controversy with calling in, stating why don't they use a transponder. There's some discussion about this online, and some say they used a transponder, some say they didn't. It doesn't make sense how it would go out because basically the transponder doesn't work off the power from anything within. It works autonomously by itself without the use of any external power. And like Colin stated, it doesn't make sense why they wouldn't use that to track the Titan, which they had trouble finding. Obviously, with this story, if it was able to be tracked, it could have saved the people's lives aboard. We know this is all part of the story, and they want to distract society. And people might ask, why would they do this? Why would they have this story out there? It's the matrix we're living in. They're controlling this matrix. They're controlling this reality with all these news stories. Let's continue on here.
There's some holes in this.
It doesn't make sense to you. From Bergen in Norway, he's a remote-operated vehicle pilot who controls remote-operated vehicles on the sea floor. And he's called in. I did actually ask, didn't I? Colin, get in touch if you happen to be an expert in rescuing submarines. And amazingly, you were listening and you have called in. Colin, thanks.
Just amazing. This guy's calling in, like she said. Amazing.
Staying on the line, look, you were saying that there's some holes in this. The key thing for you is that why they have lost contact with this submersible that disappeared early on Sunday morning, just an hour and 45 minutes after going down at 4 a.m. on Sunday morning. Because you're saying, look, it's just routine, it's very cheap, it's very reliable, this sort of sonar pinger, and it shouldn't be affected by a power loss inside the sub.
Absolutely not. The whole idea is these things are they're little round tubes about twice the size of a milk bottle, and they just strap onto the outside, and they're bulletproof, so they can send a signal. They last up to a week. So they should have had some of those on board. They really should. Yeah,
I mean, indeed, and it is very strange, isn't it? Now, look, we know there are 5 men on board. One of them is the teenage son of one of the other men on board. I mean, Hamish Harding is an explorer. We've got a Pakistani businessman, Shahzada Dawood, and his son Suleiman, teenager. Also, the CEO of OceanGate. They're the people who run the company that it provides this mission. That's Stockton Rush. Also, a 73-year-old French explorer, Paul-Henri Nargelet, believed to be the man piloting this mission. They paid $250,000 for this. This is a sort of the ultimate tourism, other than going into outer space.
And it's very interesting. She mentions tourism to the Titanic, comparing it to outer space. How can they communicate with no issues? 238,000 miles away, supposedly, according to science, with the distance of the moon, and underneath the ocean, 2.5 miles down, and they can't communicate. Nothing about this story makes sense. Even this man who called in, even states there's a lot of holes in this story. None of it makes sense.